In starting a conversation with mental health, I have decided to give my own story. I have a few of these planned and I will put them out as soon as I can. Keep in mind, though, that I am doing this while processing my own mental health concerns, so it may take some time. For the first one, I have to talk about suicidal ideation and self-harm. As such, trigger warnings for serious discussion about these topics do follow. If you don't feel comfortable watching but are facing both or either of these issues, I will leave links below that you can reach out to. Please take care of yourself. Both are something that I've had to face throughout my life. It's still hard to know where to begin on this topic. Each are connected but quite different. Self-harm is the release of built-up emotions through actions we know will harm us. This could be picking, cutting, binge drinking, frivolous or risky sexual behaviors, anything you do to release emotion while knowingly harming yourself. Suicidal ideation is the feeling of hopelessness to the point of seeing no way forward and considering, if not outright, attempting to take your own life. When I'm feeling low and anxious, I scratch. I try to avoid it being noticeable when I do, but it is there as a way for me to feel relief and regain focus. When I notice myself doing this, particularly to the point of injury, I know I need to take time to slow down, breathe, and deal with what's making me anxious or depressed. To combat it, I have a few centering techniques that frequently work and get me back to a more normal feeling, such as changing temperatures or textures in order to regain that focus. If you search centering or grounding techniques, you will find a very long list of things you can try. Everyone is different, and some may not work every time or lose effectiveness over time, so it's important to be aware of what's working for you and to switch them up when it's no longer providing you that comfort. Self-harm can be managed over time by adjusting your coping techniques to more constructive outlets and finding relief from some of the issues that are causing your anxiety. What is important to know here is that you are not alone in doing this. In engaging in these types of behavior as a method of release, it is a challenge to be open about it. But as with all mental health concerns, to get past it, you need to face and address the underlying issues. This takes time, and there will be setbacks. That's okay. Self-harm can develop into a darker thought pattern, and this is where we get to suicidal ideation. And in the hopes of creating an open dialogue, I'm going to tell my experience facing such dark thoughts. Years ago, as I was starting my journey to discovering myself, I struggled with depression, and I sought out medical help. There was a problem, though. How could I be honest with those trying to treat me if I couldn't be honest with myself? The medications I was given either made me numb or made my depression worse. After each round and attempt to get better through prescriptions failed, I progressively grew more hopeless. I was losing friends and pushing others away. I isolated myself from family and those who cared. I reached a point where I tried a few times without causing any long-lasting harm, but it was a close thing. After another attempt to fix myself with medication failed and resulted in a psychotic episode, I swore off the medication route and decided to start dealing with who I really was and how I really needed to live. Medication can be a very valuable tool for those who need it, but for me, my depression was rooted in my lack of self-acceptance and not in a chemical imbalance. And this is why the medication made it worse. I was using the wrong tool. For me, the path was to transition and accept myself for who I am. So I began hormones and transitioned socially as well. I became who I am now, and I chose to live. One of the things I would realize is that once this door to that internal darkness is opened, it will come back whenever you're feeling very low again. A few years later, I had gone back to school. I was fired from my job. I was losing friends. Everything was in turmoil and I felt lost and alone. I reached out to the wrong people who had already shown they didn't care, and I was rejected. I felt low and alone, and as if all the work I had done to improve myself over the years was meaningless. I let the darkness in again and again. It almost took me. I picked up a book to read and distract myself from what I was planning to do. The book was Veronica Decides to Die by Paulo Coelho, and it may have saved my life. I could see so much myself in Veronica's journey to find meaning. It resonated and it gave me hope. While I was thinking about this, I misheard a lyric in a song that also struck me. Let words decorate where reality can't. Which I took to mean that while the world can be dark and ugly, there can always be beauty if we can create and speak and dream it first. And that's why I have that tattoo, and that's why it's on my wrist. To always, always remind me that my reality can be reshaped if only I put forth the effort. I reached out again to people I knew could be trusted, and they helped me regain my focus. I moved on. I graduated from both my programs and went on to my master's, which in hindsight I should have taken slower. I was so focused on getting through this part of my life and being successful at it, I neglected the life I was living outside of it. This really didn't become clear until after I graduated and faced the challenges of a crowded job market. I struggled to find a job in my field. I lost a very important relationship. And at the same time, I was forced to leave the place I loved because I could no longer afford to stay. I was forced home, and the darkness returned. I felt like a failure, and again, that all my hard work was for nothing. In truth, there is still a part of me that feels this way. It's a struggle that I have yet to completely overcome. But I have worked hard to get a part-time job in my field while I get my license and hopefully afford some necessary trainings. And this was fine until, once again, as I was rebuilding, I hit another block, another loss, and it was too much. And so the darkness came back. Not so bad, not so deep, but still there. That ever-present lurking thought whenever I try to rest. I fight this voice, this darkness, through various coping techniques. Some are positive, some are masks, and they do help for a time. What really works long-term is to face that darkness and to come to terms with my own sense of loss and the past harms done. Is to forgive myself. Is to be okay with moments or periods of being weak. Is to stop hanging on to the anger, the resentment, and the hate that clouds the traumas of my past. It's okay to want compassion, care, and love, and to know that I deserve it. That it's okay to mask the pain or hide from it when it's too much to face. It's okay to ask for help when it overwhelms me, and it's okay to share my story. I know from experience how hard it is to reach out, how it feels like no one cares, or that you don't want to be a burden, or you're not worth the effort. But you are. You are worth the effort. To those who truly care, you are never a burden. And there is always someone who cares. You are worth it, and so am I. There's so much to try for. There is a path forward, and you deserve to see that future unfold. If you don't know or are unsure of where to turn, I've posted some links below. Please reach out to them. I know it can be hard to see your own worth and potential sometimes. I struggle with that a lot too. But I know I have people who can help put me back on my path. And if you reach out, you'll find that there are people there for you too. And if you think this will help someone, help them see that they are not alone with these thoughts, please share. It's time this conversation was had. Have a good night. Love, Kim.